and gentlemen, welcome to this roundtable discussion that's part of the ET Soonicorns Summit in Bengaluru. Our theme for today's discussion will be leveraging data and AI for business success. I'm going to ask all of you an opening question, and after which I'm going to be asking each one of you individual questions. So let's start with the opening question. So the big question we're asking is, how has the integration of data and AI reshaped the landscape of business operations and decision making in your verticals? Let me start with my left. Sandeep?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandeep Cashyap. I am a part of Google Cloud, and I work with emerging startups across the country. So thank you for this opportunity. I think if you look at data and AI from a Google standpoint, because we have the opportunity to work with a lot of organizations, startups, we get to see across multiple verticals and multiple use cases. I think 2 or 3 of them which really come to my mind are, one is around customer engagement and retention. I think it's one of the strongest use cases around personalization of data, reaching out to customers across multiple channels, and ability to do this at a real-time basis. I think the outside of this, and we can have detailed discussions around just this point, but outside of that, I think a lot of organizations really look at data and AI from ensuring that they're able to bring in efficiencies within the organization from a process standpoint, or look at newer areas of growth. For example, how do I go into newer markets? How do I build better products? So these are some interesting conversations that we have with customers. And the interesting thing is, irrespective of what the life cycle of the startup is, how early you are versus how late, I think almost everyone has a different use case. Now, if you're sort of layering AI on top of this, I think the use cases are sort of limitless and being very interesting positive. So I won't take too much time because it's a common question.
So right, let me go to Ipseeta Aruni in the same question. The integration of data and AI, and how is it reshaping the landscape of your business?
Thank you for having me. So from what we have seen, it has democratized access to data and AI throughout the organization. It's not limited to just business analysts or data scientists anymore. Even finance teams and marketing teams leverage this on a daily basis. Certain examples I see, maybe audit teams leveraging data science to understand how to automate, let's say, SOX control processes. Marketing teams leveraging generative AI. So it has truly democratized access in such a way that it's much easier and faster to spin up applications, figure out whether they're useful or not, iterate, and then launch them in the market as well, in case there is a use case, let's say, through data marts or such.
Okay. Let's go with Amit Singhi, Senior Director, MFine.
So when you
Better to use it so that we can
so
catch
I
your
think,
audio.
one thing that's super interesting about how data and AI are playing, right? We're able to think about new products. For the longest time, because I represent MFine and the healthcare segment, the longest time IPD was the only product in this ecosystem. It's only been a year and a half that people are starting to think about OPD. OPD is not a new product, but it is now possible, it is now feasible, because how people can use data and AI together and are able to figure out patterns so that fraud detection can happen. The only reason why OPD was not possible was there were a lot of frauds, right? Now, like Ipseeta just highlighted that now anyone and everyone can use AI over data and understand patterns, etc. It will just help us create newer products faster in the industry and make a new segment out of something which was not even present. So going to the future is amazing.
Ramesh, same question to you from a Jumbotail point of view.
Thank you. So this is Ramesh, and I head engineering at Jumbotail, a B2B e-commerce marketplace for food and grocery. And we are talking about a segment which does not have any technology footprint before we came, starting from brands till retailers or the distributors, super stockists, retailers, right? It's all offline before we came. And I can't tell you how much we were able to see the benefits of data, starting from, if you think about how brand operates, after goods go out of their warehouses, they just don't know what is second and third and tertiary stages, how they are happening. And when we are able to bridge this gap, and we can see that how we can clearly disrupt the complete supply ecosystem, at the same time, even from the demand ecosystem of retail, to provide them the right customer experiences and most superior personalized experiences. And data has been the oil for us since day one. And I'll talk about it a lot more during, I think, in a further discussion on how we are leveraging it. But I am excited to see a lot more opportunities data and AI has bring in, and uh, like definitely would love to learn more from everyone.
Okay, thank you. Praveen Chintamani of Arzooo, same question to you.
Right. So, Arzooo is in B2B and also the B2C business. So recently we got into the fintech as well, right? So, again, with the power of data that we collect, we are using, at least we started using, in terms of giving the pricing insights for all the distributors, at what time they have to buy, and what price range things are going. And also, definitely being in the B2C space, we want to help our customers to make the better decisions. And that's where, again, we pitch in with AI/ML. And when it comes to fintech, that's where, the risk analysis is very important for us. And it is, just by looking at the civil score or any of it, that alone is not enough. In the fintech, we are making use of AI/ML. We started powering with the LLM, where we want to really go through the number of bank statements a business person would have and understand his, how many times check got bounced, how many times EMI got skipped, what were the high value transactions. So give that insight to the lender, where the lender can, make an informed decision about it. Hey, by looking at these things, should I really lend the money to him or not, right? So all three areas, powering with AI, and in fact, we are going step ahead where we want to move away from the traditional discovery model, power our entire discovery at B2B, B2C using LLM models. So we're hoping that we are ahead in the game, but yeah, a little far.
Okay, thank you. Next, we come to Vinod Nair, co-founder of Enzen Global. Vinod.
Thank you. I used to be saying, it's slightly changing now to God we trust. Everybody else who needs bring insights based on intelligent analysis of the data you have. That's what we see nowadays. I come from an industry which is like Ramesh was saying, very conservative, the energy industry, very unreceptive to change. Don't want to change at all. And we have now been able to bring in a lot of change by using intelligent data analysis and the use of data. Speak a bit more about some of the examples that we have done. But basically, keeping it short, a few things which I feel are critical. The data that comes in and how do we get intelligent insights from it, real-time insights. How do we get intelligent real-time decisions? So these are a couple of points which come to mind. The rest, elaborate on as we go on.
Okay, all right. Dr. Nikhil Sikri, co-founder and CEO of Zolo.
Thank you for having me here. The way we look at data and AI is one is data plus ML combination, which is for patterns and science. One is data plus generative AI combination. We are using for three things broadly: content, efficiency, and you can say actually communication a lot. And we built a low-code tool which is generative. Like we tell, can you build an onboarding form? So using generative tools use to make our application development time faster and get to, because we have different businesses in different, which operate slightly differently and they're all, you have to tweak for the customers. It allows us to get more efficient. The generative side of it and the ML side of the world allows us to get more precise decisions. That's at the highest level of it.
Okay.
Section.
And we have Anup Naik, co-founder and CEO of Zeliot.
Hi, I'm from Zeliot, so we are a 5-year-old mobility company. All right, so one line answer I can give you: our CFO in last 12 months built his own dashboards, built his own product or application. Now he says, why do you need 100 members? Right? Why do you need a team of 80 people? I was able to do it in a couple of days, and I was able to get all of this data. Right? Why do you need a team of 80 to build what you're building? So that's how AI or generative AI, whatever applications there are, all of them have come into my company.
Okay, so it's dangerous to let CTOs get
Yeah,
too much
a lot dangerous,
tech
right?
knowledge, correct?
Too much technology.
Too much technology, your own jobs are at threat. Okay, Nirdosh Chauhan, CTO of Melora.
Yeah, I think the colleagues talked about how they're using. I'll just take very generalized understanding of what we can leverage, how to. Uh, Data essentially gives us round the clock ability to make us understanding beyond our process. So we think about seasons and before season 6, but and again weather and festivals and whatnot. That data gives much more power to say how do you even take those patterns into small tiny places uh, and right, right. And so that's the one, right? It gives you accuracy because it's talking about what's happening around. You're not really creating assumptions and you don't have bias. Right? There's some very practical what it solves out. What do we do with Nora? Personalization is one of the biggest things. Most of us do it a lot, right? What is my customer looking out? How do I meet their expectation as soon as possible? Right? Because if I throw up my 18,000 product catalog to customer, clueless, right? Going to buy. But if I know the customer well and if I can pull those top 5, top 10 products out of 18,000, what is the magic, right? So I really look up data and AI is the magical tool for us hands of our customer. While you're building products, jewelry is very expensive, right? And wrong distance on what to make. You're basically, putting a lot of capital on yourself. I think that's sort of expense your capital. Hence, your merchandising decisions could be done really well, right? You could really plan what is it going to sell a month later, right? Pre-plan things, deliver, manufacture everything, right? Ship, locate, place, right? I think that's kind of creates very capital efficient structure also for us. While we do business, might be doing everything right. One of the colleague was saying, Deloitte saying, we build dashboards. Why do we do it? We need audits, forensics to know everything the business is running well, right? There are gaps. I think data gives you that fantastic power, which allows us to continuously watch on changes, gaps in business, and gives us a hint where we can basically create out of the proposal. There are a few things which we are definitely a lot.
Okay. Can we have Pawan of Home Lane next?
Hey, hi. I am from Homelane, and quite a few might have heard that we are into the personalized home interiors. Now, this is one area where customers spend a lot of time with our folk, and it's pretty close to their heart because they do their home interiors and once or twice in their lifetime, maybe. And if it's not done well, it stays in their mind forever. Now, because they spend so much time with us, we also generate a lot of data, obviously. And it also becomes important that every engagement that they have with us is as meaningful and as time efficient as possible, right? From the time where a customer is actually selecting a particular property on our website, and that property gives us the insight of what exactly have we done before in this particular property or in an apartment complex, and what we can offer differently to them becomes a challenge, because on Google, if you just search for a particular property, it can say front gate, back gate, office, phase 1, phase 2, and other stuff. We have to have some idea or some way of making sure that all of them belong to the same apartment, and then give a better experience to the customer, and also make sure that sales teams, design teams do best in terms of what they offer to the customer in the first iteration itself, so that the entire engagement becomes meaningful. That's what we have been using AI and data for. We have the data, we would like to make the best use of it, and we have started in that journey. I see the best possible extent that can happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Avinash Vekul.
You all, so some of you would know as Vekul is the largest full stack food and agri supply chain player. The reason why Vekul got into this business itself is because of a very, very staggering statistic. The amount of food which is wasted in India is equal to the amount of food which is consumed in a country like Brazil. And that's primarily happening, and you just double down further, is because, you can talk about a long supply chain, but more importantly, it's because the data transparency is not there and the ecosystem players are all fragmented. That's why both real-time transparent data across the full value chain, and how you use AI for intelligent decision making, not for optimizing for each of the individual members, but optimizing the full value chain and being able to bring this waste down to near zero. I mean, what is 18 to 20% out there in the traditional market as a wastage is sub 1% for us. So it's core to how we run our day-to-day operations and business itself. And later when we talk about, I think all the value streams which get captured is based on this underlying principle.
Okay. Last but not the least, Shashank of Furlenco.
Yeah, hi. I'm Shashank. Furlenco, as you know, is a furniture e-commerce player. We do rental as well as selling of furniture. So for us, obviously, data is, because we're an e-commerce player, data is at the core of what we do, starting from the funnel down to the supply chain. But I think the most complex part of where we use data and AI is probably our logic side of it. I'll get a little bit more into detail as we go along and explain use cases where we use. But for us, I think it's opened up a lot of possibilities in terms of analyzing really complicated, variables and trying to figure out the best way to transport things.
Okay. All right. Now let me come back to Ipseeta Aruni. Ipseeta, there are two lenses when it comes to data and AI application: an operational and a transformational benefit. How do you distinguish between these two kinds of benefits?
Sure. So when it comes to business operation, there can be various different objectives, such as improving customer experience, reducing time to market, reducing SG&A costs, and so on. How it differs from transformational initiatives is that it may focus on one or two metrics at most to drive the product to fruition, whereas transformational initiatives will take maybe a series of parallel initiatives, series of large-scale programs that happen in sequence, and then try and impact a major business strategy, maybe redefine the supply chain or completely automate a shared service center. There will be a variety of different business metrics impacted, and most of which ties to rational, tangible financial metrics like inventory turnover, return on assets, and so on.
So the follow-up question then, how do you derive these metrics for business impact? Sorry.
I think it has to be a top-down process in terms of business decision-making. The finance team needs to own it. There can be certain solutions, enabling solutions like FinOps that give them the leeway and the visibility to how it translates down into technology and product costs. But at the end of the day, we need financial economy as well as efficiency metrics that may be customized based on different customers.
Okay. Sandeep, next question to you. How does Google approach the challenge of bias mitigation to ensure equity, equality, especially when it comes to areas like decision-making and talent acquisition, fairness? AI is pretty much going to mirror the same biases that human beings. How do you make sure that those biases are mitigated?
It's pretty interesting, and this is one of the questions we get asked a lot by our customers as well. I think way before the whole generative AI and all the hoopla that you hear about it, Google was heavily into AI with a lot of B2C services for translation and image recognition and things like that. So I think for the past 10 years, Google actually has helped publish what is called the AI principles, and it's available on our website. Any product that Google builds or tries to get into the market, we follow some of these principles, right? And these are constructive principles like, is this overall beneficial to society? Is this technology at the end of the day built with safety and security in mind? Are we accountable to people at the end of the day? And these are some broad principles which are there, and the design and build of each of the product goes by some of these principles. And what I think is equally interesting is some of the principles we ensure that are not a part of the product, especially things around, is this product primarily going to be used for things like, let's say, surveillance, which is against the accepted international norms, or can this technology from an AI or a data standpoint be or used in the market for, like, let's say, human harm, those sort of things. So I think once they sort of filter down to these design principles that we have, and bias is an important concept of how we sort of build these products, especially ensuring that A, we are either not creating or B, sort of reinforcing existing biases which are already there. And these biases could be across multiple sort of vectors, right? It could be race, it could be nationality, skin color, income, age, sexual orientation, a bunch of other things. I think the final part of how we actually go about doing this is um, we actually created a team called AI and human-centered technology. So what they are not building products, but they're building frameworks and best practices and trying to open this into the community for people to use. So there are multiple products. There's a very famous project called Know Your Data Set, where probably more than 70 million such data sets have been sort of cleansed and data enriched by some of these teams for any customer to consume, where you can look at have these design principles been followed, and can I incorporate that into the product that we have. I think finally to sort of finish this off from the whole Gen AI tool sets that we're building, anything that we're getting it out today, be it in the form of content creation, like you told, be it around text, audio, video, code generation. A lot of these are around the concept of bias. And because we're working a lot with companies whose data is very important to them, it is built around the principle of how we're building those segments and boundaries, ensuring that the models are used with your specific data. Right? We don't want to end up in situations where somebody's done something globally and pushes out to the net, and those models and those learnings are then built into your product, which can get in those biases. But generative AI is still WIP for a lot of us, so we need to be very careful in terms of.
We hear some Norwegian companies appointing a philosopher to the board, chief philosophical officer, because some of these questions go beyond technology. Right? They go into the philosophical realm of what is harm, what is good for humanity, what is not. Maybe that's the future of chief philosophical officers. Let me go to Dr. Nikhil Sikri. Your company uses AI to personalize the experience of people looking for accommodation, as well as taking calls and growing supply of rooms. So here's the question. So how has technology helped maintain the quality while expanding the supply of?
So from various, we have our own LLM model.
So AI is going to take jobs away then, by and large.
I wouldn't say that. I think one person will do. Because
okay,
fair
enough. That's politically correct. Fair enough.
And that's what has happened always. I mean, we were scared of cars. We were scared of. As humanity, we are scared.
New jobs will get created. I mean, that's the second part that everybody misses, I
even
guess.
if you're not, people will sit and relax. Good. It's not bad. So from training and development, we have our own LLM bot, HR bot, legal bot, contracting. So all these new onboardings are done. Then bot. From sales standpoint, our sales teams are empowered with the gain of LLM, which is just our data.
Correct.
That other kind of bias. When the customer asks the guy, customer asks my sales team, this quick, ready reckoner. So we were quite early into this Gen AI sort of thing. He's built a lot of stuff for us. Like I said, we have a tool which is again Gen AI enabled, a low code tool. Like if I want to build a customer survey form, just tell them that build a customer survey form for a student in a hostel, and it will sort of build it up itself and we'll contextualize. It's still not very precise. Further contextualize it. So, but the application is sort of developed. Second, can launch new products. Then I think the old ML and all has been going on for a while. I mean, I wouldn't say we've gotten a lot of expertise because we don't need very large data sets, but to give some basic guidance on what are the lead indicators, what are the lag indicators. So on the ML side, we are not a very data rich sense compared to Google or compared to for us, the data is not that much. Get some good real time insight. That's broadly how we try to enhance customer experience, enhance quality, audit, checks, because our business is really giving a great experience, time sensitive and consistent. Because if let's say you enter a property or enter a zone, I were to give you an onboarding kit, if I give you after 20 minutes or so, it has to be like that moment. Time sensitivity, consistency, and high quality what are the data allows you to hit these three nodes pretty well. Keep expanding our 4A, we were earlier just a co-living. And so it sort of allows us to keep doing the same, doing that easily without changing our product drastically.
And going forward, what tech advancements do you anticipate will have the most impact in your business?
I feel that generative AI is the biggest contender right now in terms of efficiency, in terms of accuracy, in terms of humanizing information. Because a lot of times you have information, but you have information but no insight, and that's more dangerous. Like I tell my teams, don't show me shitty dashboard. Because if you don't have a data, I'll just trust you.
Yeah.
Like when you're whitewashing me with hundreds of charts, I'm like, something you're thinking. So that humanizing of information, which is like what a human can consume and make some meaningful decision out of it. I would rather have no data than a nonsensical data which just whitewash. So
Data wash. I think we need a word for it.
Data wash.
Data washing.
So maybe there is a word exactly which we're using. So I think that humanizing is helping a lot, and rest other things that I talked about where efficiency is getting built. Now I need not worry about my L&D training experiences, because these are important experiences. They might sound small as an L&D function because HR is always, no offense if there is someone from HR, but HR is generally trivialized everywhere. But if you don't have the right onboarding experience of it, they don't understand what this culture is all about, what my job is all about, what's good, what is bad. Like things can go anywhere, and then each unit, each organization starts its own silo. HR behaves differently, finance behaves differently, business is aggressive, finance is conservative, and these kind of things sort of, because there is no unifying thread. I have high hopes on the generative AI side. Maybe it's my bias, personally big fan, have a lot of things out of that. but yeah.
Okay, Pavan of Homely, next question for you. Now, you've extensively used AI for interior designers, and also you've created your own proprietary unified data platform, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So, you spoke briefly about what prompted you to adopt AI technologies. What's the specific pain points or opportunities that drove this?
We had observed pain points in specific areas. Like I said, the customers go through a long journey. And we identified pain points in specific areas. Let's say during sales pitch, when we are talking to the customers, we understood that it would be better for us to sense the mood of the customer over the call using natural language processing, and then try to find out if there is an alternative way of pitching real time so that it helps. Apart from that, also sense the mood of the sales team as well. That was one aspect of it which we were able to experiment a bit. Then again, from a design point of view, when we actually give a 3D design to the customer to say that, okay, this is the way your kitchen is going to look like, it involved a lot of human intervention in designing that and figuring out, even if we make it like a Lego block based design to make it as quick as possible. We wanted to speed that up, and we tried to generate the design automatically or provide some provisions where we can give a select few designs. So we were able to improve certain aspects of the entire journey. But we also saw places where we can actually combine all this and provide a better experience to the end customer, to a new customer also. For example, the way we came up with Unified Design Platform, UDP, so to call it, it was, we observed, one of the example would be that we observed that there was certain structural abnormalities in a particular apartment, and that used to cause a problem during the design process itself. Now, if we are able to tie that single information and provide a better experience to the customer and say, hey, you know what, we have the knowledge, we know that there is a problem with your apartment complex and your thing pretty much lies in the same column of that particular apartment, and you will definitely have this. The customer will also be amazed and say that, okay, you have the experience required, what needs to be done, and we already have a solution as to how we would like to do that. Now, these are the things that we would like to work and make sure that the experience improves. And that's how we came up with the unified data platform. Obviously, that is used by all our functions, marketing, finance, and others to take important decisions. But eventually, it helps the customer to make the right choice, and we to make give a good engagement experience to the customer. That's how we have come.
Okay, and developing a platform like this, costs a lot of money. I imagine it's not cheap. But the more important question is, what's been the impact of this on your business?
The impact has been good. The decision making has been way more consistent. The kind of results that we get has been way more consistent, in the sense the kind of decisions that we have taken, and we actually, it's like a feedback loop in terms of identifying where and what and how do we make it better. So it has costed a lot. It has required us to consistently invest on it year on year. But the kind of results that we have gotten in terms of unifying the complete experience and giving that particular thing to the customer and improving our sales and revenue based on that has been immense.
Clear ROI on that investment.
Definitely.
Okay. Nirdosh, next question for you. To start with, jewelry and data might seem like an odd combination, but you tied it up very nicely in your opening remarks. Could you specifically tell us how Mellora uses data to connect with customers? You said from 18,000, you're going to bring it down to 5 or 10 options. How exactly do you do that?
I'm not surprised with that specific question, right? When you think about data, we need to first understand what's the kind of data available, right? There is some data which is static in nature, which means it doesn't change its form over the time. But there is a data which is always changing, right? And I'll just give you an example. I mean, the very generic thinking might be about jewelry is that to know about what's the jewelry is, what's the category it belongs, what's the metal, how much is a diamond, right? What's the price, what's the discount, right? I mean, that's the general thinking about it. But to think about, this jewelry is also carrying a lot of transactional data, right? Which essentially means where is it located right now? Which is the customer who is showing interest on this jewelry at the moment? What's the time of the day this interest has been coming in? What's the possibility of this sale can be converted, right? If you think about it, it's very, very interesting, understanding of this both sides of the world combined and brought in together to make meaningful suggestions for customers, right? At the same time, as a company, we get to understand about, as I said, data is not about just going and finding what's the best for my customer, but it is also for a company to figure it out what's the best for me, right? Looking out to signals and signatures around data. So if you think about it, making or showing a better choice to the customer is what really get it. I'll give you one example. Jewelry purchase is very highly engaged purchase. We see customers keeping the products in their cart for weeks before they make a decision. Any guess what time of the day most of the card gets in a checkout? It's around 11 p.m. at night.
Why is that though?
I mean, you're very accurate.
I'm curious to know why. Why is that?
Post dinner.
Exactly. So it's like you start a day. Maybe you did make some selection. By the time the day passes, your funnel will start coming down as a customer. You'll probably select 5-6 items, then you maybe nail down to 2. By the time 10, still that dilemma is going on. But before ending the day, you want to make sure that the entire day worth of the effort of a customer has gone in, right? So it happens that mostly that time is the maximum number of coming, and some of these are very, very high value, right? The jewelry business is very highest business, then some of these are very, very high value. This knowledge enables us to basically provide any help as a company can get them out in terms of any offers or any suggestions. Say, while you're looking out this, but maybe there is another option which is slightly lesser in the price, but it is almost right. So I think the data plays a very key role. And as I also said, earlier conversation, it's very capital intensive business. You're planning, decisioning of what to make, what to manufacture for. Say, for example, there's Dhanteras is coming up, which is huge for a jewelry business. We need to start planning ahead of time, right? You can't just go and produce 100 crore worth of jewelry in just a few days, right? You need to start planning ahead of time. And what do you plan? Well, what you're going to buy there, right? You cannot just go and build something you're not going to buy. So I think data plays a very critical role. Another dimension I think I want to touch upon is that jewelry is not about just those price and the metal and the diamond, right? It also has its signature. That signature comes in the form of the curves and the shapes, the emotions, right? If you really ask me, every jewelry in my company has its emotion attached, right? And we see people's profile their segmentation, and we can understand maybe this is the emotion what is going to. We don't say design, but we say it's emotion of a product is what we're going to. I think it's very, very significant role. As we deep dive, I think more and more things we're learning, right? We do make mistakes, but sometimes, yes, I think some of these things are.
Okay. Avinash, Waycool Foods announced its next-gen AI-powered Outgrow app to provide a sort of comprehensive advisory and personal solutions in both English and in Indian language. We're hearing a lot of success stories of how AI was implemented. Could you tell us about a time when you hit a roadblock instead of success?
So I think it's just to share a little bit more context. So Outgrow app is used for our farmers across the ecosystem. Today it's being used by more than 200,000 farmers South and West India. I think we had a very, very interesting scenario in this during the time of development. And today we talk a lot about Gen AI and LLM models. I think definitely the world has moved significantly, but I think this is an example which also taught us as to how much there is still to go. I think there's a lot of talk around how LLM models have made of course, conversations much easier and automatically generated. Voice to text, voice to videos, all of that coming in, different languages as well. But I think a lot of this is still relevant for, say, the urban India or the urban parts of various parts of the world, right? And if you go back to the customer steps like here, which is the farmers who are in the various rural towns, the dialect of the local language spoken in each town is very, very
changes
different.
from
Right, and based on the dialect, the words have very, very different meanings. The understanding is different, and so on. So it's one thing to say that okay, I have a language. I mean, I have my app in apart from English, in Hindi, in Tamil, and Telugu, and so on. But the Tamil spoken by the folks, by the farmers in Trichy, are very, very different from the Tamil spoken by the farmers in, say, around the Kadalur region, around Chennai, etc. And the challenge in this is not just AI models. The fact is that the data itself is not available in a digital form. So this is an area where data sets itself have to be first created. So that's what we went out to do. So the solution here is less on the AI, but more on first being able to get digitized data. We did several lakhs of voice recordings from farmers of different regions to be able to cover for different dialects of Tamil based on the region, etc. And then apply that on top of the LLM models to be able to do that.
We're going to get into this question later about what happens when there's lack of clean data or lack of standardized data. But before that, let me go to Shashank of Furlenco. So you're shaking up things, you said, both in furniture rentals as well as in sales. And you spoke about AI-driven insights. Can you give us a couple of examples of how it's led to an operational transformation?
Sure. So for us, we have a complex offering. First, rental is unique. Firstly, furniture is unique because you're moving large objects. You're not moving small packages on a two-wheeler. So our logistics cost is our biggest cost driver. And when you're giving rental, the value that you're getting out of it is a very low amount. So a big couch would probably give you like $8.99 a month. So it's very important for us to optimize our logistics cost because we can't go multiple times to a customer's. Now, because we are a rental company, we also pick up furniture from terminating customers. What this means is that we do both forward and reverse logistics. And if our demand, which is our new customers and terminating customers, sort of on a good balance, what ends up happening is the best case scenario for us is to do both forward and reverse logistics in one truck, right? Because technically, you leave with the truck full and you come back with the truck full. Your cost is half. But this brings its own set of complexity, right? Because you can't really do this very efficiently because let's say you had to do a run where you did one delivery and then had to do one pickup because that pin code was closed. But then you couldn't do the delivery because the customer wasn't available. Now you don't have space for the pickup. So there are about 20 different constraints that we look at when we're planning every truck that goes out, right? Because of this, and within India, we have a lot of peculiarities, even though we operate in such big cities. certain cities don't allow certain size trucks to be entering the city after a particular point of time. Some pin codes you can't send large trucks to. So all of these put together was a big problem for us because we had to put a lot of people to sit down and do the planning. And the problem is, even though to the best of everybody's knowledge you come out with a plan, if something goes wrong on the ground, it's basically a deck of cards. It's going to crumble. And at the end of it, what suffers is your customer experience. Because there's a customer who's waiting the entire day for their bed and then they've already been sleeping on the floor for 2 days. And because something happened on the ground where somebody else's pickup, somebody gave an extra bed on the pickup, you couldn't do the delivery or something like that happened. So what we did was we built this algorithm which could do both scheduling and planning at the same time, rather than it. Earlier it was two different problems. Scheduling was a different problem and planning was a different problem. So we integrated both of these into one problem, gave it like 20 different constraints, and checked our entire order backlog into it, which consisted of both pickups and deliveries, and gave it a thing to see how does AI optimize this and what were we doing wrong. Now we got a lot of success in terms of both our North Star metrics were cost on one side and customer experience on the other side. But we also had like a problem with it. What ended up happening was there was just one thing that we had missed, which was how the behavior of the customer is affecting the whole thing. So essentially what was happening was when we had people on the ground, we would go to the customer's house because we can't leave furniture on the doorstep like an Amazon does with small packages. We usually call the customer, and what was happening was the customer is like, I'm busy right now, come back after half an hour. That has a domino effect on everything that we do. But then what ended up happening with this automation is that our last mile cancellations went up a lot. So while in theory we were optimizing really well, on the ground, there were a lot of things that were breaking because we didn't take the customer confirmation angle into account. So we had to make a couple of modifications, scale the model down, and then take it back up in a slightly different fashion. And now we're sort of approaching it from a different angle, but that still remains the core of what does our logistics planning and scheduling.
Yes, so important question. You can have all the AI in the world, but human behavior still continues to be unpredictable, and that can be the wild card in all this, right?
Yes,
in all the
right,
AI. All right. Then we go to Ramesh next of Jumbotail. Now you gather billions of data points from a plethora of data sources, from multiple mobile apps, customers, sellers, other partners. On your website, you spell out that you are an AI and tech-first company that connects Kirana stores to their suppliers and FMCG brand. How has AI integration helped in optimizing your costs and scaling while providing the best service to your customers?
Sure. So whatever you quoted from website, right? So that is right. So we want to revolutionize food and grocery ecosystem with the use of tech, product, design, and decision sciences. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about what exactly is industry, what is the problem that we are trying to solve, right? So see, we are a B2B e-commerce marketplace, right? So the e-commerce and marketplace as a terms might give a notion that yes, it is an existed problem because Flipkart has done it, Amazon has done it. But what makes it difficult is the customer persona itself. We are serving retailers, Kirana, right? So at one point of time back in 2016, we had to recharge their phones to use our apps, right? And that's where we started off. And right now, I think we have come a long, long way. And they're not very tech savvy. At the same time, this overall ecosystem, if you look from brands to distributors, everyone, it's completely offline and it is based on trust. You go to a distributor gives you 21-day free credit and goods and say that, okay, give me later, right? Money, give me later. And you need to be giving superior experience and build that trust to digital means to break that barrier. At the same time, credit definitely is one of the biggest lever, right? So where it is a no-brainer in this industry to actually even start with. And last but not the least, everything happens in bulk. When we started off back in 2016, let us say, delivering 10 phones in Koramangala might be a solved problem, but a Kirana orders, let's say 10 rice packs, it's 500 kgs, right? So, and how do you do these kind of supply chain logistics makes it even more interesting problem. And that's where trust, customer experience, and how do you, and at the end of it, they're very, very price conscious customers. That's where our supply chain and logistics cost need to be as minimal as possible so that we can break even or let's say become profitable. And that's where we started building a lot of technologies. And maybe I'll take this data and AI at two levels. because data starts first and AI comes later, because I don't even say that from 2015 to 2020, when we are there only in one city trying to prove profitability, right? Yes, AI did not play much role, but we were very, very conscious and we were thinking long term that yes, AI is the thing that is going to be future. That's where our data journey has started from day one. And what data means in our ecosystem, if I look at it, if you think about a simple product which Kirana is buying, somebody need to procure the goods and they need to keep it in a warehouse, and warehouse is typically a 1 lakh square feet warehouse we are talking about. And from there, somebody will pick, pack, sort, dispatch, and then like again, logistics takes over all the problems that like Furlong is facing, right? So where you need to go to each and every touch point and you need to deliver. All of these are touch points, and again, we do accept returns as well. And when I talk about return, it's not a complete return. If I deliver a 25 kg bag, the customer will sell to another their customers 1 kg, and they will tell that hey, quality is not good. Then they'll give me 24 kg open bags, and such kind of returns we are talking about. That way, a lot of systems had to be built to track all of it, and I can proudly say that we don't have any paper-based processes. Everything is a smart warehouse, and that is where these billions of data points come. And at the same time, we do track each and every interaction of our app, and that's where I think per month I think we do generate around 1.5 billion events from the app. And while all of this data exists, right, as you mentioned, I think without having insights, or let us say if you have a bunch of dashboards, it is not going to prove the complete cost that I am putting on, let us say, data extraction or conversion, and let us say for processing. And that is where we started leveraging data from day one, data democratization as a thing. We started from day one where even our ops teams also had a complete access to data, and they used to, most of the cases, they used to build the products using the data, using no code tools, and then once they mature, then we used to pick it up and actually we used to build. And we started from there. And now with all of this data, right, if I talk about the problems where now as we kept on scaling over these years, right now we are present in around 50 plus cities, and we are like having around 2.5 lakh 2.5 lakh retailers. So the places where this data helped is we have a wide range of selection. I think in Melora, the problem that they are talking about is definitely similar for us, where but these 2.5 lakh retailers are not synonymous. Everybody there, people who are rice heavy buyers, people with FMCG. We need to understand the customer profile very, very keenly, right? And we should be able to match all of this wide selection and take a lot more input, such as what is the return rate of this customer, or what did he view previously in the last month, or what did he purchase previously but not buying right now, n number of like different insights on this data. And we should be able to run time within 50 milliseconds. I should be able to show what are the 10 relevant products. That is, if he goes to rice, what are the relevant products. The same time, search is a very, very convoluted problem for us, because we are talking about non-tech savvy customers. They do in general type queries such as 10 rupees ka sabun, or let us say all the problems that Vekul was talking about, right? Having different one thing is about having different slangs, or let's say languages, but them converted into Konglish, English and everything, right? So now those are the kind of queries that we are getting, and that's the data set on which we do keep on working, and we try to fine tune how do you query extraction, and how do you understand with synonyms, or let us say even through NLP, and how do you come up with what are the relevant results, right? Is a big deal, where initially it might be some statistical models or everything would work, but at scale again only AI and ML can help. And a lot more on targeting and personalization. And this is one side of story of demand. But if I talk about supply chain and logistics, which is our to make sure the trust and customer experience, cost, everything, and there we are talking about 1 lakh square feet warehouse, right? So now which product do I keep where? Because I need to be able to use space efficiently. At the same time, it should be optimized for my picking, and it should not be very costly to do that. At the same time, I keep on rotating my spaces, different products keep on coming. And how do I make sure that my space utilization is optimal? And we run a lot of bin packing algorithms to, in general, to see how many packets that we need to send it to customer. And again, without having a feedback loops, right? They are going to give the same results, and we are going to send the same number of plates outside. And in this 1 lakh square feet warehouse, customer, delivery hero walking, right? All the jobs that they are doing, the walk path itself, right? If at all I optimize, I will bring down the cost quite a lot. And all of these are the opportunities I'm talking about supply chain logistics, and I did not even touch base on, let's say, credit. the underwriting that someone is speaking about, right? As in we have all of these data points from e-commerce that are existing. Now I'll be able to lend better to my consumer because I know what kind of customers they are. Let us say they buy rice or let us say they buy FMCG, and I'll be able to provide this credit also as one of the lever in which they will be able to transact. Because most of the new products in the market from supply ecosystem, if you look at it, even for ITC or any bigger brands, we might know ITC Ashirwad are 10 products, but ITC might be having 1,000 products. Or rest of the 950 products, it's a big deal for them to push it into, let's say, retailers. Biggest problem is, okay, I'll buy it, but who will take returns? Or who will lend me money, right? That's where we are able to even position those offerings as well to the customer. And that's where this data and AI journey, right, has been the complete driver for us. And the biggest realization for is that it's not about looking at it once we scale where we can deploy AI, but it need to be a thorough thought process. Otherwise, it would be a bunch of dashboards, and we actually moved away from dashboards and we built a complete data platform because previously we used to operate in a way that all this data is there. Now go and figure out yourself. But what we realize is data silos. Everybody will be looking at their metrics, but at the end of it, how do you align whole company at a data infrastructure level? Saying that because at the end of it, right, from CEO till the ground staff, they should be able to look at a single source of truth. That's where we looked at data as a data product and not just as a data that is existing, giving it, right. Data experiences we have built and data platform. And I can tell you my experience with my business itself has differed because previously we used to get into one meeting and why did GMV become low? There's a subsequent meeting with some more dashboard reports and subsequent meeting with some more questions. Now all of it are completely gone away and a data product where they can drill down and see it, right? And that's where the overall data journey has been definitely enriching, and we continue to invest a lot more into this AI, AI and ML, and hopefully the Gen AI as well. Right now we are trying to figure out where it fits because it's a solution, but what are the problems where it fits? We are trying to figure out, but we are excited about this year.
Excellent. Amit Singhi, question for you. Now, there's a lack of comprehensive medical records in India, obviously, and accessible medical records, and even if they're available, they may not be standardized. Now, given these circumstances, how do you utilize these kind of records to train your AI?
So I think back when we started around 7 years ago, I think like Ramesh highlighted, right, data comes first and AI comes later, right? We were one of the first, we were calling ourselves an AI health tech company. And it was so difficult to imagine a future where we would be able to use this data. Like around 7 years ago, imagine that we were asking patients to enter data, what happened to you, what are the symptoms, what are the allergies, etc. As patient is, why am I being asked to do so many things, right? When I can just talk to a doctor. From a doctor's perspective, doctor did not care. While we gave them a very summarized way of symptoms, medicines, etc., doctor did not care then. And even we were not sure how we will be able to make sense of this data in the future. The thought process was it will be useful, but we were also not sure because I'm sure all the esteemed folks here, none of them would want a future where there is no doctor and it's just AI who is treating you, right? So we were not even moving towards a segment where you don't even need a doctor. We'll have so much data that come tell your symptoms and we'll tell the medicines. No one would trust us. But now when I look back and when I see how we have been able to evolve this journey, right, we've been able to really impact care and the caregiver's life significantly. So when I talk about care, right, I'll give you a very small instance. And I think Dr. Nikhil, we were just talking and you mentioned that you recently had twins, right? So now when a pregnant lady, has something, related to a back problem or a knee problem, etc., all of us, intuitively will think that she should go to an orthopedic, right? Bone doctor. We realized after months of data crunching that we realized that every time a pregnant person is going to an orthopedic, the orthopedic does not do the consultation. They ask them to first go to a gynecologist. Because there is a nuance about a pregnant woman that an orthopedic should not directly talk. And now when a patient comes to our app who is pregnant, they don't have to follow through that journey and wait till a doctor will come and tell that, hey, you should first talk to a gynecologist. We ourselves call them that because you're pregnant, you should first talk to a gynecologist. Maybe you're consulting, or maybe we can set up one for you, and then decide who should you go forward with. Now, this is the care side of things. Now, think about the caregiver side of things, right? In India, we have so many doctors, right? I'll not bore you with the fact that the doctors are still less, right? Ideally, when we started, we thought that we were solving that problem, that we'll make doctors more effective. But I realized that we are, data and AI can really help them fast track experience. A doctor who is sitting in tier 2 has limited experience. Think about how a doctor really prescribes, basis what he or she has studied, basis the different patients that come and the experiences that come over, or possibly the new journals that they read. So at the end, we are limited to a doctor's thought process of how many patients has he or she's seen and how many journals did they read. Imagine if I'm a doctor who is not read enough, who is new, which means that any patient who is going to this doctor may not be getting optimal care. But do we want that? So now, like there's a Dr. Guruva Reddy in Hyderabad who would have done 50,000 plus knee surgeries, like India's best. How do we bring his skill to everyone? So from a doctor's side of things, what happens is whenever they are treating a patient, we are able to showcase that this symptoms, this is the possible treatment that can happen. So now we are able to nudge or push differential treatment, which earlier was not even in the paraphrase from a doctor's perspective. During COVID wave 2, I'll tell you something very simple and yet so impactful. A lot of the doctors, there was hue and cry everywhere. Now, if you go to a doctor, ideally a doctor should not prescribe antibiotic for the first 3 days. They should first look at you, give you normal medicines, paracetamol, etc. Only when things are not improving, they should give you antibiotic. But in our platform, we realize that because there's hue and cry, doctors sometimes resort to a treatment plan where they would give antibiotic on day 1. At that point in time, we realized that if we want to evolve or help them with better care, we created a nudge in the system. Patient has fever only for 1 day. Do you want to suggest them antibiotic? And we ensure that with those nudges, doctors are able to treat their patient better, right? In times of chaos, data or AI helps you navigate better. How do you differential diagnosis? How do you treat patients better? I think, over these 6-7 years, I think this is one of the biggest things that we've seen, that, while there's a lot of help that AI and data can help the team and make us more effective, I think like Ipseeta highlighted, right? For us, we can use AI in the operational sense, but for us, we're now thinking how, this is transformational for us, right? We are able to change the care delivery ecosystem completely. So that is how we've been able to manage, right? We've asked for data since day 1.
Keeping on the same theme of data, let's go to Praveen Chintamani. You help small retailers compete with larger players like Amazon or Vijay Sales. What have been the challenges on your side when it comes to AI tech? Is data one of the big challenges, inconsistent data?
Right. I mean, most of them mentioned, right? So when we start a company, we never realize like one day we're going to use AI or ML. People build the company and we keep collecting the data. And at some point, when we start using the data, then you realize that, hey, you know what? I cannot use the data as is, right? I need to make sure that massage and do something over it and all that. So the major problems when we started adopting AI that we faced was, one was the transparency and consistency, right? So in one of the fintech platform, when we were asking for people to upload the bank statement, someone uploaded the bank statement by taking out some transactions, and we were like, hey, it's not a clean statement. And when we asked him, he said, I don't want you to know about some of my transactions. So he was not feeling confident about giving the data to us, right? So we had to tell him like how it works, giving them, there is a consent form that where we sign, where we agree, and these are the terms and conditions, right? So that was one, and also the bias, right? So somebody was talking about Tamil Nadu, how it is. So in our, it's a B2B business, so most of the retailers are from north side and Bihar and all. When they can't type and all, they said, okay, can you give me search, voice search, right? So we gave that, and once our customer experience team came running to us and said, like, hey, you know what? There is something called people are searching for watching man, right? I mean, like, okay, we don't have anything called watching man, but then we realized from the talking to that retailer, he was searching for washing machine. right? Because his accent is totally different. Then we are like, hey, this is something totally wrong, so we have to do it. So that's when we collected, these kind of data as well. And another one, again, we collected the data, we started using it however we want and all that. Then we realized we should also think about how we aggregate, how we anonymize the data, right? So it's like AI is your quirky friend who knows everything, but we have to be careful about all this stuff. So again, in my own experience, one of the retail, based on the buying pattern, for one teenage girl, we sent an offer about the pregnancy, right? I mean, his father came to running, in fact, sued us, saying, hey, you know what, you're kind of promoting a teenage girl about the pregnancy or what? But again, you're not aware of, what bias it was taking and all that, right? So again, there was a different story, but here again, we see the same, the patterns and the problems with that as well. And again, the regulatory, right? So when AI ML team, when they get super excited about the data they have, they don't have any speed around that. They keep using it. So we have to establish again, we had a third-party regulatory team where we are like, hey, you know what? Tell me whether I should use this data, right? I mean, am I supposed to consider this data to make some decisions, or should I keep it on watch, right? So these are, some of the major problems that we faced, because we collected the data and one fine day we said, okay, we'll use the AI, right? And whether data is right or wrong, what it is. So yeah, I mean, most of them has touched. These are probably the typical problems everyone has faced, I guess.
Okay, I'll go to Vinod Nair next. Vinod, one of the sayings they say is data is the new oil. But people keep forgetting that we already have problems with old oil. Old oil is polluting, old oil is scarce. Right? You work a lot with water and energy. Right? Both of these are core to sustainability. Right? How can use of AI impact this whole sustainability value chain?
Before I answer that question, I just want to share a story about this is from a book called The Power of Habits. I don't know how many of you have read it.
Yeah.
Very famous. Yeah. It talks about how Target used to send out coupons to people. Right? And the coupons are targeted at what Target believe that you should buy or.
I didn't take the name purposefully. I work for Target.
All right, yeah. So it's very interesting story. So Target was sending out these coupons to a man. It was out pregnancy related stuff. This guy has a teenage daughter, and he goes and sues Target. Basically, then he realizes that his teenage daughter is actually pregnant. So how Target found out was basically Target was analyzing the customer buying behavior, and based on that girl's buying behavior, they predicted that this girl is. This is 20 years back. Yeah. We talk about data and AI. Target was.
We used to call it data mining those days, right?
Big data.
Big data mining.
I experienced this firsthand, right? I mean, that case, you were involved in a game. Entire team was deployed to make sure that how we are doing the decisions and all that. Just to be very precise on that, the data changed its habit out of the last 6 months. The last 15 days of her purchase was indicating that. But we've ignored what she bought for the last 5 months or 5.5 months. Only that 15 days resulted as like what we should send to her. The reason is we got an offer on those products, on the pregnancy products, and we found that this is what we have to do it, right? Again, I mean, yeah, ethics is something that.
Yeah, but Vinod, back to the question.
Yeah, sorry.
How can AI? What are the benefits you can see in the areas of sustainability when it comes to water and energy in particular?
So I'll give a couple of examples and I'll be very quick on. So we work with very large solar farms, 5,000, 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 acres, big, huge. And what these companies were facing is that they need to be literally having an army of people on the ground, because they need to really go and check how these things are functioning, whether they're under shadow, whether there's dust accumulation, whether there is hot spotting and all this kind of stuff. And they came to us. What we did is basically very simple stuff, basically an array of drones, which basically captures high imagery data, thermal data as well. Then fed it into an AI engine, and this AI engine is coming back and telling us, okay, hey, this part of the solar panels are under shadow. There is just the emission here, or this panel has hot that it's going wrong there. Right? So the company was actually able to reduce the amount of fields and also do a lot of preventive maintenance. So the AI engine gave them back as to potential areas on the ground will have which can impact the generation capacity, stuff like that. That's one example of how the sustainable angle we were able to use. We were able to help a part of it. Another example I can probably share is the large power generation company, not the power generation power distribution company in a very large city in Europe, and they've been facing about supply demand. How do we solve that? With a solution where we were able to bring in a lot of data from climatic, seasonal variations that happen, bring in elements like what is the anticipated load going to be on a particular day based on historical data, based on what is the expected uh, need and demand and all those kind of things, and married it with things like okay, here you have a solar plant which can pump in energy for you. You have a hydro plant, you have a wind farm which can pump, and also are there areas within your grid where you have no demand, so you can basically pull that energy into areas of high demand. So putting a lot of these things which helped us, the power distribution company did not have to buy new energy for for a time period where there's a heat. This is in Europe, then you have a heat wave or you have a cold wave, you need to have you're highly dependent on power, unlike us where we can manage. So some areas, some of these examples, that are very practical examples, add value to that. Be happy to share more, but
Anup, final question for you. Your company provides vehicle telematic solutions, use technology to gain data from vehicles to improve efficiency. Now, one science fiction scenario is somebody gets hold of your data and decides to crash 5,000 cars at one time.
Yeah, I mean,
is that a science fiction scenario, or is it possible?
It's not a science fiction scenario. I mean, there are many scenarios where it has happened, right? So,
there were about 1,000 cars parked in the lot, and they were able to turn on their indicators in a pattern. I mean, these things have happened. If I'm not wrong, this happened with Tesla, and it happened a few years back. So, the problem that we face as a company is very different from what I was hearing here. The reason is, as I heard, most of you were talking about, let's say, having access to data and trying to build on top of it, right? So you have billions of points, then you build your algorithms on it, then you deploy your engines, then you ultimately come to the problem with telematics or connected vehicle, the data should not be with us. That's the first point, right? So the answer to your question is that data has to rest with each customer, so that you don't have a data set, or you don't have a, let's say, data lake where you have data of all the vehicles that we are kind of providing a technology to. That should never happen. If that happens, then even if Elon Musk writes the code, it is still bound, someone else will still crack it. So the biggest challenge that we face, data will never be with us, right? The transactional data will always be with the customer, and it will be a silo. It's by design, right? So let's say Ashok Leyland and Volvo Eicher, both of our customers. Royal Enfield and TVS Motors, both of them are our customers. So coincidentally, TVS recently launched a new bike. I don't know how many of you noticed it, right? So they launched India's most expensive electric moped for 2.5 lakhs. When Ola is trying to sell at 1.5, TVS has launched something at 2.5. Now they use our data platform. Now the data that we have access to from coming to that platform, if assume Royal Enfield gets access to, I'm not at all claiming that they would try to, but I'm just saying, coincidentally, that happens, right? Because of our problem, because of someone else's. It's not only just about turning on, turning off, or getting the vehicle to commit an accident, but it's about a biggest IP. And we don't know why TVS is charging 2.5 lakhs for their premium vehicle, right? So there could be a lot of innovation they have done with respect to their battery chemistry, with respect to their motor control units. All of the data comes to us. So we collect roughly 1 kb per second, right, per vehicle. So now let's say iQube, there are about 1.5 lakh iQubes running today. Every iQube sends 1 kb per second, right? So now what we have to ensure is the problem that we face, this has to sit on the customer standard. So Google would directly relate to this, right? So TVS has its own tenant, RE has its own tenant. Our product has to sit there and it has to work as if I am running it on a daily basis. So my challenges come with making sure that the product runs as if it is run on a SaaS level, but it is actually running in a PaaS environment, where it's a platform as a service which runs on their own cloud.
Right, so which we try to avoid these kind of scenarios being happening.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to conclude this discussion with two questions, one to Sandeep and one to Ipseeta, who we started with. Sandeep, question for you. Give us an instance of how collaboration between Google and a partner agency has led to substantial improvements in operational efficiency.
Okay, I think we had fantastic set of examples here. So I would sort of look at this at two ways, right? One, are traditional data and AI use cases, which almost every company looks at addressing. So we've had customers like, let's say, Arvind Fashion, which is a true omni-channel platform, which had so many data silos because they're a traditional company. They had probably like 500 different applications. And then you have data coming in real time from their mobile. It's coming in from Google Analytics, from Firebase. So it was complete chaos, right? And the decision that they were taking, even on the omni-channel platform, was probably like 10 days old. So they were sort of able to build a platform that brought it down to within a single day. So these are what I call traditional data and AI problems that most companies have sort of solved, right? This could be about lending that we're talking about in terms of customers like BharatPay who are on the platform who do millions of UPI transactions. They have a large lending business as well, right? So the whole underwriting process, risk mitigation, and especially for people who are unbanked and for the smaller segment, how do I build a profile? Those are what I call traditional use cases. Right? But what I'd like to talk about are some really interesting use cases that we are seeing in the field in terms of product design and development with data as the first point. And some really interesting use cases. So recently, I met a couple of customers. One of them is completely building a new loan product portfolio in the country when it's not there. So, and this is in the agri space. So India, if you look at it, probably 40 years ago, in the agri space was roughly around 70% farm and 30% cattle from a source standpoint, right? I think they're trying to change that drastically. So the company was looking at building cattle loans as a product, and now the banks have the ability to identify cattle as a class or a product. And they've used AI now, just like you have fingerprint for humans, using or like stripes for tigers. For cattle, there is actually muscle pattern, what they call it. And by using that, they're able to identify every cattle. And every single cattle in the country. And India, I think, has 300 million cattle. And they've started with 2 states, and their idea is to get to everything. And on top of this, they built AI algorithms where after you identify the cattle, you take more photos of the udder, the backside. So they're able to figure out the health of the cattle. And they're also able to figure out what is going to be the milk yield of this cattle. And if there's a farmer who comes in, they're now able to say what is going to be the cash flow from this particular cow based on the milk that it generates for the next 3 years. Now they're able to go back to the bank and say, this is a uniquely identified cattle. You can give it a loan, which is got a different price point than, let's say, an agri loan, right? And just by doing this as an experimental basis, the data points are phenomenal, right? I think agri loan as an NPA was somewhere around 6 to 8%. With this new cattle loan product that they've built, the NPA is 0.22%.
Wow.
Right? And they're completely using AI and data to run this. And their goal is to hit the billion cattle the world over. And similarly, I think Brazil has like 400 cattle.
Collateral is not collateral. Okay, final question for Ipseeta. Talk a little bit about cross-industry collaborations and how they can benefit from data and AI solutions. About partnerships, product launches, vertical integration, supply chain, all of that.
I think we've seen several examples, not just in India, outside as well. For example, Plaid enabling the financial services fintech ecosystem in the US. Similar acquisitions happening in India, like Credit Acquiring, Credit Vidya. All of these are built on a heavy tech stack. However, they make it modular enough to be reused by various participants in an industry supply chain. When we talk about specific services on Google, we, as a premier partner assistant, we help customers enable and design data marts or MLOps solutions. LLMs are getting commoditized. Everybody's coming up with a new variation. I think those things will still be the driving factor in innovation. However, what is the value that we add on top? Is it something that we're building as a benchmark in an industry that multiple players can reuse? I think that will drive up valuations as well. When it comes to sustainability, Google has several different services like Earth Engine, Environmental Insights Explorer. We tie those together with Vertex AI and an envelope solution to understand what is the level of inundation in a certain area, what kind of flood insurance plans should a provider be selling. So all of these various factors come together when we try and design partnerships, maybe a few years down the line. The decision begins today though. How do you design your company?
Okay. That brings us to the end of this discussion on leveraging data and AI for business. Gentlemen, Ipseeta, thank you very much for participating in it, and we'll see you.